Hey, good to see you again. Merry Christmas to you and everyone you love. Listen, before we dive into today's story, I need you to do something for me. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, I want you to hit that button right now. But here's the catch. You have to do it while standing on one leg. I'm serious, one leg. Why? Because if you can balance your body, you can balance the chaos of the news cycle. Go ahead, I'll wait. Did you do it? Good. Now let's talk about something absolutely wild that happened this week. So Pete Buttigieg, him, former transportation secretary, the guy who actually tried to fix our crumbling bridges and roads for 4 years, just gave an interview that's getting everyone talking. And at the same time, his replacement, Sean Duffy, Trump's new transportation secretary, decided the best way to improve air travel was to do pull-ups at Reagan Airport. I'm not making this up. Pull-ups at an airport. While RFK Jr. watched, we're living in interesting times, my friend. But here's what caught my attention. Pete's out here saying Democrats need to stop trying to go back to how things were before Trump. He's basically saying the old playbook is dead. The status quo was failing us. And just trying to restore what existed before isn't going to cut it anymore. Meanwhile, healthcare costs are skyrocketing. Airports are becoming fitness centers, apparently, and everyone's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Now, I've been watching Pete Buttigieg for years. Love him or not, the guy's smart. He was one of the only Democrats who could actually go on Fox News and hold his own without losing his cool. And now he's out here doing this whole reflection tour, talking about what went wrong in 2024, why Kamala lost, and what Democrats should do next. It's fascinating stuff because at the same time, Trump's new guys are literally flexing. And I mean that literally at airports, while actual problems pile up. You're probably wondering where I'm going with this. Well, buckle up. We're going to talk about Pete's life after Trump, what he's saying about the Democratic Party's future, this absolutely bizarre airport pull-up situation with Sean Duffy and RFK Jr., and why your healthcare costs are about to go up again. It's all connected, trust me. And just between you and me, this might be one of the more important conversations we need to have right now. Because while some folks are doing gymnastics at terminals, real issues are getting ignored. So stick with me here. This is going to be good. All right, let's set the stage. Pete Buttigieg just finished his 4-year run as transportation secretary. The guy spent his time trying to rebuild America's infrastructure. Boring stuff, like making sure bridges don't collapse and trains don't derail. He was part of Biden's big infrastructure bill, what they called the big deal, trying to channel FDR's New Deal energy. They committed over $500 billion to transportation projects across the country, 63,000 local projects. That's not a small number. But here's the thing. Democrats lost in 2024, Trump's back, and Pete's been doing some soul searching about why. He sat down for interviews recently, and he's not making excuses. He's saying something that's actually pretty bold. Democrats have been too attached to a status quo that's been failing people for a long time. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it's wrong for Trump to burn down important institutions, but it's also wrong to think everything was just fine before. Think about that for a second. He's basically saying both things can be true. Trump's approach is destructive, but pretending the old way was working is delusional. That's a tough pill to swallow if you're a Democrat who spent 4 years trying to restore what Trump broke during his first term. Pete's saying restoration isn't enough anymore. People are frustrated. They don't trust their government. They don't believe the system works for them. And just fixing potholes, while necessary, wasn't enough to convince voters that Democrats had answers. Now, contrast that with what's happening in Trump's administration right now. Sean Duffy, the new transportation secretary, held a press conference at Reagan Airport this week. And instead of announcing solutions to the air traffic controller shortage, or updates on airline fees, or literally anything substantive, he and RFK Jr. decided to do a pull-up competition. I'm not joking. They set up a pull-up bar in the middle of the terminal, and these two cabinet secretaries started doing reps while cameras rolled. RFK did 20. Duffy did 10. The whole thing was supposedly about launching their Make Travel Family Friendly Again initiative, part of the broader Make America. So the reaction to all this has been mixed. Let's start with Pete's comments about the Democratic Party. Progressives are listening. Some of them agree that the party has been too focused on defending old systems instead of proposing bold changes. Others think Pete's being too hard on Biden's legacy. After all, the infrastructure bill was historic. The economy recovered. Unemployment was low, but voters didn't feel it in their daily lives. Inflation hit people hard. Gas prices, grocery bills, rent, all going up, and Democrats kept saying, but look at the data. Things are getting better. Meanwhile, people were like, my bank account says otherwise. Pete also talked about trust in government. He mentioned how the Jeffrey Epstein scandal still resonates with people because Americans don't trust that the government has told them everything, even though Epstein was historically more of a MAGA obsession. Pete defended Democrats pushing for transparency on it because ultimately people want to believe their leaders aren't hiding things. And when there's secrecy, conspiracy theories fill the vacuum, that's where we are right now in a trust crisis. On the media side, Pete's been pretty strategic. During the Biden years, he became the go-to Democrat for Fox News appearances. He'd go into the lion's den, stay calm, and actually engage with conservative viewers. That earned him respect, even from people who disagreed with him. Now he's talking about local government being the salvation for Democrats during Trump's second-term mayors, state officials, community leaders. He thinks that's where progress will happen because the federal government is going to be chaotic. And chaotic might be an understatement because while Pete's out here trying to have serious conversations about the future, the new administration is literally doing fitness challenges at airports. The pull-up stunt got roasted online. Governor Gavin Newsom tweeted something like, Sean Duffy would like you to do pull-ups while he forces you to wait for your delayed flight. Ouch. Other critics pointed out that airport gyms aren't exactly what travelers need right now. How about more air traffic controllers, lower baggage fees, actual solutions to flight delays? But here's the thing. Duffy's approach is very Trump 2.0. It's about spectacle. It's about creating viral moments, whether it's telling people not to wear pajamas on planes or doing pull-ups to promote healthy airports. It's all designed to get attention, and it works. We're talking about it. I'm talking about it. You're watching this. The question is whether attention translates into actual improvements. And also, if you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that like button. I promise you won't have to do a pull-up. Let's dig deeper into what Pete actually said and what it means. In his interview, Pete was pretty blunt about Biden's age. He said, I told the truth, which is that he was old. You could see that he was old, but he also defended Biden's ability to do the job, saying whenever he needed support from the Oval Office, transportation projects, he got it. That's Pete trying to thread a needle, acknowledging the obvious problem while not throwing Biden under the bus. He also talked about fear. He said, the fear of political retribution, or even physical violence, is more real now than at any point in his lifetime. That's heavy. He mentioned how fear of losing funding is already affecting who gets invited to speak at universities or who gets hired at law firms. The chilling effect is real. And his response, the only antidote to a politics of fear is a politics of courage. That's the kind of line that sounds good, but it's easier said than done when people are genuinely worried about their livelihoods. Now, while Pete's out here having philosophical conversations about democracy, Sean Duffy's rolling out his airport initiative. The billion-dollar program is supposed to make travel more family-friendly. They want to add play areas, lactation rooms, family screening lanes, add security, sensory rooms for kids with special needs. And yes, exercise spaces. Duffy said airports could pitch their own ideas too, like reading stations or whatever else makes travel easier for families. Here's where it gets interesting. That $1 billion, it's coming from Biden's 2021 infrastructure investment and Jobs Act, the same bill Pete Buttigieg helped implement. So Trump's team is literally using Biden's money to fund their initiatives while pretending they're the ones innovating. That's politics, baby. But the irony is Rich Pete and his team laid the groundwork, got the funding approved, and now Duffy's cutting the ribbon while doing pull-ups. RFK Jr. was there too. So what does all this mean going forward? Let's start with the political implications. Pete Buttigieg is clearly positioning himself as a voice for Democrats' future. He's young, he's articulate, and he's thinking strategically about what the party needs to do to win again. His message is basically, stop defending the old system. Stop being afraid. And start offering bold changes that meet people where they are. Whether Democrats listen to him or not, we'll see. But he's putting himself in the conversation. On the Republican side, Duffy's approach tells you everything about Trump 2.0. It's flashy, it's unconventional, and it's designed for social media virality. Whether that translates into better governance is debatable. The pull-up stunt might have been ridiculous, but it got attention, and attention is currency in modern politics. The $1 billion for airport improvements could genuinely help families, or it could be a PR move that doesn't change much. Time will tell. But here's where things get real for you and me. Healthcare costs. While all this political theater is happening, Americans are about to get hit with another wave of rising healthcare expenses. Projections for 2025 show costs increasing between 7% and 8%. That's the third straight year of increases, above 5% after a decade of relatively stable costs. Around 3%, employers are getting squeezed, and they're passing costs onto employees through higher premiums, bigger deductibles, and increased copays. What's driving this? A few things. First, expensive new drugs, especially GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Wegovy. Those drugs are everywhere now, and they're not cheap. Second, an aging population. More seniors means more healthcare demand, and Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements aren't keeping up with hospitals. Rising costs. Third, inflation hitting everything from medical supplies to staff salaries. Hospitals are struggling, especially rural ones. Over 700 rural hospitals are in danger of closing. That's not sustainable. And here's the connection to everything else. While